So in this next clip, Joni is saying that they tried to get restoration, but Jonathan was secretly recording a private meeting. Oh, I wonder why he needed to do that. Well, somebody with a very big name, again, told them that's exactly what they needed to do after hearing what was going on behind closed doors. Take a listen.
Yeah, and we tried for restoration, we tried for resolution, we tried for mediation, and to no avail. We would get something worked out with Jonathan, and then he would go home to Susie, and then come back different. Mm-hmm. And you know, our board saw that, and people in positions of authority would see that, and and again, we were just scratching our head like, you know, how do we fix this? Because it was such a mess. And so we met with Jimmy Evans, myself, and the two of them, and we had exhausted so many avenues of trying to work it out. Mm-hmm. And so we had a meeting. It was a private meeting. And
however, it was taped, which to me felt, when I heard it, the meeting was fine, but to do that secretly,
yes, what do you
make
mean
that
taped?
I guess recorded.
Jonathan secretly recorded the meeting.
So that to me is deceptive.
He knew it was
a
private meeting, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if I were recording, I would go into the meeting knowing what I'm saying is going to be said. So I think I would probably, in my own flesh, edit my words, maybe not say exactly what I'm thinking, or respond the way that I would had I not been recording.
Well, he was secretly recording. Of course, we didn't know it.
You're all of the same kind of people, aren't you? That you would edit yourself if you knew that you were being recorded. You know what I always say? Record me. Record me when I'm on camera, record me when I'm off camera, because I'm going to say the same exact thing. But you see, there is a culture out there that is not the same. They have a face for the camera, a face for the recording, and a face when they don't think anyone's looking. And here's what Jonathan and Susie did. They captured the face that is shown when no one is looking. And it wasn't pretty. And all of those hours of recording, and you see those ladies there, disgusting. I mean, they literally, they have as little character as Joni Lamb. This lady's saying, you know, that these were secret, you know, secret meetings almost. Like she kind of got it confused there. And Joni had to say, well, these were secret recordings of a meeting. No, but they were really meetings that you wanted secret because you wanted to be able to pummel spiritually, abusively on Jonathan. You wanted to be able to do that without anybody else ever seeing that. And the sad part for all of this is that it all came out. And we have played you many, many little clips of Joni Lamb's The Voice of God, says Jimmy Evans, and just pummeling him, saying that he's rebellious because he didn't want to support the marriage, saying that he's rebellious because, you know, wanting to stand up and say something's wrong here. He's rebellious because not standing with the $100,000 honeymoon. He became Doge, you know, which any good employee, any good person that you hire that has integrity and speaks into a ministry to bring clout and to bring honesty, that would be a good thing. And it happened to be Joni Lamb's son. And Joni Lamb's son is the one who should be running Daystar. Marcus Lamb wanted him to. But Joni chose her own path. Joni chose rebellion against Marcus. His final words completely disregarded, as somehow his oxygen was not quite enough, and he passed as Joshua Brown was with him in the room. All of this, it's a big mess. And Joni, the very next day, she was on the phone with Doug Weiss getting heartfelt counseling, and she made decisions that she would not honor the words of her husband from the day before, basically, when on his deathbed he says, Jonathan and Susie are to run the show with the sisters beside him, Rebecca and her husband, and Rachel Lamb Brown. No mention of Joshua Brown. What did Marcus Lamb know in those final hours? What did he comprehend? What did he understand that he had never been able to fully verbalize before? He got clarity. He got clarity about who should be running Daystar. Someone with integrity that would stand up and make sure that those who sacrifice from their own pensions, from their own paychecks to help the ministry, that money should be handled with care. That was Jonathan Lamb, not Joni. Joni was fine receiving a $100,000 honeymoon. And you know that, don't you, Tom Callender? You know, Tom, we've never heard from you. And we invite you, Tom. Jonathan and Susie at one point thought that you were a great guy. In fact, you met with them. And we have clips about that. I shot at Jonathan and Susie's home, and they had a good rapport with Tom Callender until Tom Callender turned his back, had a call from Joni, and he decided which side of the bread his butter is buttered on. How does that go? Yeah, so close. He decided where he was going to be getting his goodies, and it would be from Joni Lamb, not the kids. Kids were going to be out. She was hell-bent on showing them to be rebellious. And she didn't like the secret recordings because, just like her friends sitting there on the table talk hens of deception, just like her, she would have changed what she had to say had she known that we were being recorded. And through all of this, Joni, her mantra is that Jonathan is the rebellious one. He's the one with a sin problem. What color is the sky in Joni Lamb's world?
This is a pastor for 35 years. Joni, I've been giving thought and prayer to the issue with your kids.
Who's this pastor?
Here are some thoughts. First, we learn in the Old Testament that rebellion is the sin of witchcraft. The reason rebellion is like witchcraft is because when we rebel against authority that is set over us, we are stepping out from under the protective covering and inviting demonic spirits to attack us with no covering.
Wow.
Witchcraft is inviting demonic spirits to influence our lives. If we
Now,
feel the
just a second here. So how does witchcraft enter? Now, it's interesting because it was sort of the words of Miss Denise Boggs regarding that she seemed to be bewitched, that there was something that had entered into Joni Lamb's life that would allow her to quickly immerse herself into a relationship with a man that was married to her friend, Lisa Weiss, that would quickly allow her to enter a place in which witchcraft would be given reign. And it's fascinating that behind closed doors, when they don't know that they are being recorded, they sure like to use this, wield the sword on what witchcraft is. And yet this is the very woman who's operating in witchcraft. Witchcraft, manipulation, you do this or else, strongholds, trying to be controlling, lacking in discernment, ungodly, covering the essay of the child, taking up in a relationship where there should have been hope for that relationship. In fact, you told Miss Denise Boggs that you hoped there would be reconciliation with Doug and his wife. And would you just talk to them and all of that? Utter and complete nonsense. This is the autopsying of destruction of a ministry. This is the root of it. This is what was captured because Jonathan had no choice and was instructed by another mega ministry leader that he needed to record what his mother and Jimmy Evans were saying, because this was wicked. This is wicked what's going on here. Using the word, turning the word of God around so that so that what is right is wrong, what's wrong is right, and trying to blame Jonathan. Let's continue to listen. Fascinating.
Authority over us is in error. We have the right to appeal to the authority in humility. If the authority decides to continue with the choice they have made, then we have two options. We remove ourselves from that authority, or we submit to that authority. There is not a third option of staying under the authority and attempting to force them to change or stay with our opinion.
Okay. So thank you, Joni, for laying out sort of how authority works. So your authority was Marcus Lamb, and you had an option, whether to conform and to do as he wished or not. And you made your choice. You had a choice about whether to stay or to go in honoring the authority that God had placed over you. Because if I'm not correct, biblically speaking, he was your authority and he spoke. And you decided to do your own dance, your own rebellion, Joni Lamb, a vicious, vicious rebellion that has cost you the relationship with one of the finest young men in North America. Jonathan and Susie are upright, righteous, and you couldn't handle it. And you turned in those meetings, and I'm so glad we have recordings, or we would never know this. We would never know. Why has God judged Daystar so harshly? 28 broadcasters leaving. You know, the bigwigs, anyone with discernment, and those that are there, I don't know what to say to y'all except you're sellouts, you're compromisers. I couldn't do it. I mean, we're a small ministry. We barely been on there, and we started getting checks because people support you when you're on Daystar. It was really helpful. But the moment I realized that we've got a problem, we have someone who's what? What is this all about? What is this marriage? This is the doctor. I didn't know. I didn't know anything about him. I'm sorry. I actually didn't follow Joni's love life before I got on the show. And it started to be evident that that's not right. And then Jonathan and Susie talking about their family issue and who the alleged predator is. And now that we've seen how this alleged predator, speaks to the Colleyville PD. Wow, he's scary. Because you see, he knew she was going up there. The young girl that he followed. So we're back to this meeting, secretly recorded, with Joni Lamb's upside down, backward perspective as usual on everything. Let's continue.
On steroids and will open destruction in our lives. Correction for those in authority is God's job, not ours. If we try to correct them, we are being God. Correction for those being in authority, again, is God's job, not ours. If I have seen people...
I wonder just something. Why wouldn't she just listen? This person has written her a letter, I believe, here. She doesn't want to say who it is. And has said, correction is God's job. Now, if you think that Jonathan and Susie are not correct, that's God's job. You leave it in God's hands. Why wouldn't she follow that? That's not what she did. She didn't leave it in God's hands to bring correction against Jonathan and Susie about their rebellious nature, refusing to read an email that celebrated an adulterous marriage. She didn't leave it in God's hands. So was she not listening to this person's advice, I wonder? Take a listen.
Will become self-appointed correctors, which is what we have here, of those in authority, and watch their own lives fall apart because their rebellion destroyed them. This is 35 years of being a pastor. When we submit to it,
watching their lives fall apart because, look, I'm going to write this down. Rebellion has destroyed them. Oh man, that's good stuff. That should be in a book. And I bet that person that wrote you probably has written a few books. Am I right? And they know a lot about God's process. And so this person may have maybe they were trying to tell you something. I don't know if they were discerning, they were trying to tell you, or they were taking your word for it that Jonathan and Susie are rebellious for not accepting my adulterous marriage. Unless God kind of happenstance was actually trying to give you correction, because God was trying to let you know that rebellion against your authorities, against those who did speak to you, your husband was one of them, that your rebellion has destroyed your life. I'm going to put that in my diary tonight so I don't forget that that's what happens when you enter into rebellion. It destroys your life. You know, we've all lived that. If you are wise, you repent. If you are unwise, you continue to do what Joni Lamb does. Let's keep watching.
Authority, even if we don't fully agree with them, we protect ourselves and allow God to bless us. I've personally been in some positions where I did not understand why God had me in that role at that time, because I saw things that I could not support. I prayed and knew I was where I was supposed to be, so I kept my mouth shut and refused to speak anything negative about the person in authority. In every situation, my submission and humble attitude allowed God to bless me in ways I could have never imagined. At the same time, God took care of the person who was in authority, but not always the way that I thought that he should, but it would always be the right way. Secondly, in addition to this being an issue of rebellion to submission, I believe this is an issue of trust. Our years of personal interaction have caused us to trust you to be a woman of God who desires the things of God. And so he goes on.
So, okay, clearly we can now see that whoever wrote that is like, not discerning at all. I don't know if the person that wrote that would have a different letter to write. How did they really know Joni? Did they know that Joni had lied about the $100,000 honeymoon? Did they know that Joni was speaking to Dr. Doug Weiss the night of her husband's death? Did they know that Joni was quickly engaging in conversations that she began looking forward to with a man who had previously been married to someone else, and there were no biblical grounds for divorce? Would she think that that was the right thing that has been instructed to her friend Joni Lamb? Whoever you are, and you know who you are, is this the same letter you would write? That Joni Lamb has been known to be a righteous woman of God. She bought 100,000 books of her own, basically to become a national bestseller. That in itself is not righteous. I mean, it's not done. It's frowned upon. You don't buy your own book so that you can store it in a, warehouse so that you can then say you're a bestseller. The way that Joni Lamb treated Jeanette, we've had Jeanette on the show. When she showed up at Jeanette's workplace after Jeanette had left and derided her and insulted her at her workplace and bullied her because Jeanette had had to leave because she couldn't take what had gone down and how the ministry was not being run with godly standards because of what she found out about Marcus's affair. But you, Joni Lamb, years of mistreatment. The people that have been on this show in the past have showed that you are harsh, nasty, not godlike. And we've got those stories, and we've told those stories. So a godly woman, not listening to her husband, entering into an immoral marriage, and against your husband's wishes, as presented by Miss Denise Boggs. We've gone all through it. If you have any doubt of this, please contact me and I'll send you the exact time codes for where you can see the word that Miss Denise Boggs was asked to write down by Marcus Lamb. And we'll take you there. Let's continue.
To say any child has had moments when they thought they were smarter than their parent. That is the way life works. But on the other hand, not only you're a boss, but as these are your children, we choose to trust our parents even when we may be tempted to think we know better than them. This is an issue of honor. The Bible teaches us to honor our mother and father.
The honor culture. The honor culture. I don't think that honor, in the words of Jesus or the 10 Commandments to honor your mother and father, I don't think it ever meant to agree with their sin. That is not honoring. It's not honoring to overlook your parents' sin.
It's not honoring to be abused.
It's not honoring to stand silently as sin enters into a ministry that was started by God.
It's not honoring to be neglected.
It's not honoring. Honor by any young man.
It's not honoring to do that.
And whenever you hear Jonathan speak in any of these recordings, he is respectful, never yells. People have said to him, man, I would have lost my gourd, but he never does. He's honoring while standing for righteousness. Joni Lamb's perspective of what honor means is you must submit.
It's not honoring to be untouched and unloved.
Submit to the sin that I have brought into the camp. And we all know what happened to Achan. Continue.
May go well with this and that we may live a long and prosperous life. The Bible puts no qualification on that commandment. We are told honor our parents, blah, blah, blah. He goes on, but basically
Blah, blah, blah.
he was saying...
Who is that asking me?
It doesn't matter who it is.
No, I'm just curious.
It's somebody
Who is it?
that you would trust.
Joni.
But why can't you tell me?
Why can't you tell me? Why can't you tell me who it is? You see, she didn't want to disclose. She didn't want to be honoring to Jonathan. And, well, this is written by our good friend, da-da-da-da-da. Why would she not? Think about this. Why did she not want Jonathan to know who wrote that letter? She's willing to use someone's words. I mean, what'd she get it from? Did she look it up on Google? Right? Is it really a person? Someone you would know and trust says, you have to submit to me and you have to do exactly as I say, and you better read that email. And honor me, honor me, honor me, honor me in my sin, honor me. Don't raise a red flag when things are concerning to you. Honor, honor, honor. And yes, somebody wrote that and we're going to believe them and I don't need to tell you who it is. Why? So absolutely bizarre. Take a look at this next one. Jonathan under attack by Joni and Jimmy, saying that he is rebellious and not submitted to them. I mean, it just gets worse.
No, I'm talking about something that would be, if you had a conviction that it might be wrong in front of, like, under God's eyes.
Well, I think it would be wrong to ask him to sin. But other
But
than...
this is not a sin, and it's just like
not a
this
sin.
pastor said, there were times when he was under authority that he didn't agree,
That's right.
but he submitted, and the Lord blessed him for that.
Yeah.
Because God works in straight lines.
Yeah.
And if you have
And
one
see,
out
that's
here-
where I think that, you know, that makes sense. You know, obviously I don't want to do anything that would be
well, you have been. And that's what we're telling you
considered
right now.
witchcraft, but at the same time,
It is rebellion. It's a sin of witchcraft. It is stubbornness. It is idolatry. It is all those things. You know that you can trust me. You know that you can. I have proven it over the years. And so either you trust me and you submit or you don't.
Okay, let me just say
Yeah.
something. What is she talking about? Jonathan can't trust her at all. He can't trust her for a second. She's trying to get $100,000 honeymoon pass through the organization, or already did. She's bringing in a man who was married to someone else for years, whom Jonathan had interviewed on the set as Doug says, no, butterflies. I got butterflies after 30 years, man. Because my wife is so great. Well, now his wife is Joni Lamb. And Jonathan and Susie had to watch this whole wretched affair. And Joni Lamb dares to sit there hounding him about how he is not honoring and that he is rebellious and bringing witchcraft into the organization, when in actual fact, It's her. It's her. And we wouldn't know that except for Jonathan got some good advice to make sure he taped this.